For 3 generations, the women in my family have been masters at taming their husbands. The Hua family is renowned for its strong-willed women, a trait passed down through generations. My grandmother, a former martial artist, broke my gambling addict grandfather's legs and kept him confined for almost the rest of his life. No one in the village dared to cross her. My mother, on the other hand, was an intellectual. But immediately after my scoundrel father passed away, she wasted no time in having him cremated, using her impeccable acting skills to silence his mistresses. I inherited qualities from both of them, but hadn't had the chance to showcase them. By chance, my love-struck cousin, short a bridesmaid for her wedding, invited me to act as her guardian. Seeing the groomsmen with their sinister intentions and the groom-to-be feigning innocence, I subtly pulled out my custom-made 15-centimeter steel needle. This is my battlefield, I thought. Let the games begin. From a young age, I was known for my beauty throughout the region, but as I grew older, no one dared to approach me. Simply put, the women of the Hua family have always been strong and decisive. In the past, my family was well-off, small landowners with assets. Unexpectedly, my grandfather squandered everything on gambling. My grandmother punished him by breaking his legs and imprisoning him for decades. Afterwards, thanks to her resilience and foresight, my grandmother rebuilt the family fortune. Regrettably, my father was utterly useless. He only knew how to indulge in pleasure and womanizing. His business ventures brought no profit, instead causing countless problems. After my father died in a traffic accident, my mother quickly took stock of the family assets. The moment the hospital announced my father's death, my mother didn't hesitate to order a truck straight to the crematorium. Half an hour later, my father had turned to ash. The next day, a group of mistresses showed up with their children, demanding their rights, astonishing everyone. My mother, wiping away tears, lamented, "Please don't spread baseless rumors. My husband was a ladies' man, surrounded by many women, but in his heart there was only me. There was absolutely no infidelity." The mistresses refused to back down, pushing their children forward for my grandmother to arbitrate. My grandmother simply raised an eyebrow. "Oh, you say that's true? A paternity DNA test. I'm old, so I don't believe such things. Seeing how deeply infatuated you all are with my son, I'll concede one step. After the funeral is complete, we'll divide my son's ashes. Each of you can take a share and bring it home." The moment these words were spoken, the mistresses all recoiled. Their goal was money, not ashes. My grandmother paid no mind to their petty calculations. "You don't want the ashes. Get out, all of you." Growing up in such an environment, I couldn't escape some bad habits. In my first year of high school, a wealthy young heir in the area pursued me unsuccessfully. He then sent a matchmaker to talk to me. He spoke very sweetly, saying we should just get to know each other and we'd marry right after graduation. That night, I threw 10 kilograms of manure into his mansion. Half a year later, a local tough from the next city met me and was instantly smitten, telling the matchmaker he had to have me within a year. The matchmaker hesitantly relayed his kind intentions. The next day, as the gangster was speeding recklessly, his car suddenly crashed violently, leaving him in a full-body cast so severe even his own mother didn't recognize him. 3 years later, when I entered university, a suitor from another province traveled a long distance to find me, also seeking out the matchmaker. The matchmaker angrily stamped her foot. "Get out, get out, get out. You blind fools, if you want to die, don't drag me into it." From then on, the underworld's perception of me, Alice Hua, the beautiful and wealthy only daughter of 3 generations of the Hua family, transformed into Alice Hua, the femme fatale who brings misfortune like contact, meant a few days of bad luck, serious involvement meant lifelong disability. And so, I lived a peaceful, unremarkable life. I thought I would live such a dull existence until the end, even regretting having been too heavy-handed in my youth, leaving nothing exciting in my life now. But joy found its way back to me. The day before the May Day holiday, my aunt called me. She said my cousin, Grace, was getting married but was short a bridesmaid and asked me to help at all costs. Finally, she added, "This trivial matter shouldn't bother you, but your cousin is blinded by love and insists on marrying far away. The place she's marrying into has a very absurd wedding hazing tradition where they tease the bridesmaids excessively. If I sent anyone else, I wouldn't be at ease. Only with you there to keep things in order will it be absolutely safe. My aunt's trust moved and touched me to tears. As I prepared to leave home with my backpack, my mother carefully warned, "Be careful, dear. Don't do anything reckless that could cause trouble." My grandmother, sitting in her armchair, added, "Don't listen to your mother. Being too timid will get nothing done. Just act freely." And so, I boarded the train bound for the mountains of southwest China. After several transfers, I arrived at a seemingly remote small town. A stranger with bleached blonde hair came to pick me up. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up. "You're my sister-in-law's bridesmaid, aren't you? City girls are really something different, so refreshing." Grace, standing beside him, frowned. "What kind of talk is that, Leo?" Leo didn't flinch. "Oh, don't be angry, sister-in-law. A beautiful sister-in-law bonding with us brothers will only strengthen our ties, right?" Seeing Grace about to explode, I quickly pulled her sleeve down. "Grace, Leo is just joking. Don't take it to heart." Leo's eyes sparkled even more, a smug look on his face. Grace angrily whispered to me, "He's clearly disrespecting you." I looked at her fiancé Daniel, standing silently beside us. I retorted, "Is he disrespecting me or is he disrespecting you, Grace?" Grace paused, then reflexively defended him, "My fiancé. He's just a man of few words." "Haha, who's the biggest fool in this world? Those in love are the biggest fools, best at finding excuses to cover things up. What can you do?" I smiled. "Today, let them tease us with words a little. Tomorrow, I'll teach them a lesson in manners." There were 6 bridesmaids for this trip. Besides me, the other 5 were Grace's childhood friends. They were all from the same hometown as me, so they knew my legend. Therefore, upon meeting and exchanging glances, the other 5 immediately regarded me as their sole reliance. They anxiously asked, "Alice, the people here are so rude. What should we do if they misbehave later?" "What can we do? We're just a bunch of weak girls and they're a bunch of scoundrels. What can we do?" Seeing my silence, they grew even more panicked. Very quickly, the groom's party arrived for the bridal pickup. Just as I predicted, they didn't look for shoes or play any games. Instead, they individually rushed into the group of bridesmaids. Occasionally, there were inappropriate actions, from touching to brushing past. The other bridesmaids had clearly never witnessed such a scene. They immediately panicked and scattered, fleeing around the room. Grace couldn't tolerate it and loudly exclaimed, "Daniel, tell your friends to behave." Daniel, who was about to get married, hadn't even had a chance to speak when Leo interjected. "What's wrong, sister-in-law? Haven't even changed your title and you're already acting like the lady of the house." The other groomsmen chimed in simultaneously. Exactly. It's disgraceful to let women speak up. Hey, Daniel, if you listen to your wife today, you'll have to listen to her your whole life." Daniel, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "Leo, they're just playing. Don't take it to heart, dear. Today is our happy day. Don't let these trivial matters spoil it." Daniel tried to mediate, but Grace didn't accept this solution. She hesitated for a moment, then conceded, "All right, but you have to make sure they don't go too far." Daniel reassured her, "Don't worry, nothing will happen." However, Grace didn't see it. The moment she stepped out the door, Leo immediately reached out and brushed against a bridesmaid. Screams of alarm erupted incessantly. The terrified bridesmaids shouted, "Daniel, tell them to stop." Grace tried to turn back but was pulled and held by Daniel. "It's time for the bridal pickup. We can't delay the auspicious hour. Don't worry, with so many people, they won't do anything excessive." Grace hesitated for a moment, then hurried out. A few timid bridesmaids huddled in a corner of the room, sobbing. Unfortunately, they were unfamiliar with the place, surrounded by people who were all in on it. The bridal procession left, but 3 groomsmen still showed no intention of stopping, remaining confined in the bedroom. Someone called from outside, "Hey, hurry up and go tease someone else." Leo replied, "What's the rush? Let the wedding car go first. We brothers will go back after we're tired of playing." Immediately, someone echoed him, someone else chuckled mischievously, but no one spoke up to help. I was so frightened that tears welled up and I clutched Leo's shirt. "Leo, what do you want before you'll let us go?" Leo smirked. "Just be good, play a few games involving physical contact and I wouldn't dare make it difficult for you." I timidly looked up. Do we need to take off our clothes?" Leo, lost in thought, only smiled sinisterly without speaking. I bit my lip. Then you guys lock the door, I'm embarrassed." Leo sneered. "All right, just wait." With a click, the door slammed shut. He turned around, utterly astonished to see that the bridesmaid who had been sobbing timidly in the corner earlier was now different. The pitiful weakling that was me was now sitting cross-legged. The 4 other bridesmaids, who had been panicked and fleeing, pulled baseball bats from under the bed. 3 men, 4 bats, 1 electric stun gun, 6 of us sisters, I calmly counted. Listen to my instructions. Can you do it? The bridesmaids responded in unison, yes, we can. Seeing the situation was not good, Leo frantically turned back to unlock the door. I delivered a kick that broke his wrist. A distorted image, desperate screams all separated by the thick door. He fell to the ground, backing away in fear. You're just a little girl, how are you so strong? What just happened, did you all deliberately? I pulled out the custom-made silver needle I always carried, about 15 centimeters long, looking like a sewing needle. I jabbed it into an acupuncture point, causing extreme pain without leaving a mark. With a single jab, Leo cried out in agony. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, Leo, how about my sisters and I play with you? Half an hour later, our group of bridesmaids took 2 taxis directly to the wedding banquet hotel. Seeing us safe and sound, Grace breathed a sigh of relief. But Daniel didn't. He looked surprised, even horrified. You girls, you arrived so quickly. Daniel's voice was a little hoarse. Where are Leo and the others? I shook my head, feigning innocence. I don't know, sir. As soon as you left, they made some noise and then left too. What? They still haven't arrived? Daniel blurted out. No way. As soon as he finished speaking, all the bridesmaids stared at him. What do you mean? A bridesmaid asked with a cold smile. You know Leo's character so well, how could you let us off so easily? Grace's face also turned pale. No, I didn't mean that, Daniel quickly explained. It's just that I hadn't seen them yet, so I thought you all came with them. I smiled. Grace, what do you think? Grace pressed her lips together, remaining silent. The bridesmaids all looked disappointed. No one said a word, just quietly gathered in one spot. No one wanted to be close to Grace anymore. Grace's silence made Daniel even more confident, his tone becoming more assertive. You are the last ones to leave the bridal chamber. Where have those 3 strong men disappeared to? You absolutely must explain it clearly to me. I raised an eyebrow and replied, What's the rush, sir? This is your hometown. We're just a few weak girls, what could we possibly do? Just wait a little longer and see. Who knows, maybe they got lost or fell into a ditch. No sooner had I finished speaking than the large door was violently pushed open. Leo, with a bruised and battered face, along with 2 other groomsmen, stumbled in with difficulty. Their pathetic appearance silenced all the guests in the wedding hall. Leo's mournful cries echoed increasingly loudly in the spacious room. Brother, this wedding can't continue. You have no idea how fierce the women of this family are. Look at us, beaten like this, every blow as if trying to take our lives. Call the police immediately. Leo pulled up his shirt, revealing dark bruises all over his body. Daniel's face was cold. What's going on here? On a happy day like this, you're assaulting people. I want to report this to the police immediately. I thought. When they were teasing the bridesmaids, they called it a trivial matter, nothing to worry about. But when the groomsmen get a taste of their own medicine, they immediately demand to call the police. I approached Leo, speaking softly. Leo, do you really want to call the police? Your brother, think about it. Will fighting and causing a disturbance be punished more severely, or will intentional sexual assault be punished more severely? I forgot to tell you, I installed a surveillance camera in the bridal chamber. I have video evidence right here, you know. Leo's face stiffened, and he instinctively recoiled. I raised my head and said loudly, Leo, would you mind explaining the origin of these injuries to your brother? After a terrifying moment of silence, Leo stammered, I fell. I smiled. Good boy. Daniel didn't believe it. He knew Leo's temperament well and understood that I had his weakness, but that didn't stop him from looking for trouble. Leo, your friends really did go too far teasing people. Today is our happy day. For my sake, I can forgive them. But they must publicly apologize to my little brother. Do you still want to save face? I lunged forward, intending to deliver a resounding slap. Apologize again for what? What kind of groom are you? Today, I will definitely teach this kind of worthless person a lesson. Grace stepped forward to shield Daniel. That's enough, Alice. Stop making such a fuss. Grace, in her magnificent wedding dress, wore a strange, unfamiliar expression that I couldn't comprehend. With a helpless yet incredibly firm tone, she said to me, Today is my big day. Can't you just let everything go and let me have a peaceful wedding? I know these customs here make you uncomfortable, but what's the big deal? On the contrary, you girls even assaulted them. You must be quite satisfied, aren't you? Grace held my hand, gently persuading me. Now, all it takes is one apology. If you say it, the wedding can still proceed normally. Alice, please, for my sake, don't make a big deal out of this, okay? I stared blankly at my cousin, the sister I had grown up with since childhood. Why were her words so cold? She understood everything, but she just thought it wasn't important. Our rude treatment was nothing. Our near humiliation was also nothing. For her wedding, for her love, everyone else had to compromise. I reached out and touched Grace's face, saying to her, "When Auntie asked me to be a bridesmaid, she said you were marrying far away in a remote place and asked me to come and keep things in order. Well, I've kept things in order now. Later, when Daniel brings up today's events, he will surely resent me, but he will also be wary. For better or worse, with the fierce image of your maternal family like me here, he will have to reconsider even if he wants to go too far." I withdrew my hand and stepped back. My task is done. From now on, whether he's a man or a monster is your choice. You want me to apologize? Don't even dream about it. I turned and walked out of the hall. The bridesmaids behind me hesitated for a moment, then followed one by one. Grace frantically grabbed the last one. "Why are you all leaving?" The girl pushed her hand away. "Grace, we're friends. You want me to apologize to that guy who almost assaulted me? Never." That very night, we hastily boarded a plane back to Lamthan. Hearing the news, my aunt was so shocked she collapsed. "That foolish girl, her mind goes blank the moment she sees a man," my aunt scolded angrily. "She can't even protect her friends. Always tolerating things, how can she ever find peace? Despicable, she'll only suffer in the future." I offered a few perfunctory words of comfort to my aunt, then excused myself and went home. My mother was sitting on the sofa watching a movie. As soon as she saw me walk in, she tossed me an envelope. "This is compensation for emotional damages." I grinned widely, taking it. My mother snorted coldly, "Smiling so early? This story is far from over." At first, I thought with Grace's love-struck mind and Daniel's hypocritical facade, their marriage would last at least a year. Who knew, less than half a year later, my aunt called in a panic with bad news. "Grace is in trouble." How did she find out? If you look closely, my aunt is also a very tough woman. Immediately after the wedding, my aunt realized Daniel was not a good person. So she decisively froze all of Grace's credit cards. The savings my aunt had accumulated for Grace were also withdrawn by her overnight. My aunt only left one obscure card, linked to her phone number, with 500T transferred into it on the same day each month. 500T is nothing. With my cousin's spending habits, she probably wouldn't even bother picking it up. But if she hit rock bottom, this 500T would be enough to keep her from starving. So, if my cousin had a stable job and a normal married life, she would certainly not touch this card. Once money was withdrawn, it meant she had encountered something so serious that she had to use that meager lifeline. 3 months ago, this card was used for the first time. After that, every month on the day the money was transferred, it was immediately withdrawn. My aunt couldn't sit still any longer, so she tried calling Grace but only received a message that the phone number had been disconnected. "Grace hasn't contacted you for half a year?" my mother asked my aunt. My aunt sighed. "Of course she has. The very day her credit cards were frozen, Grace called. They had a fierce argument. Grace declared that she could live happily on her own, making those who looked down on her witness it. Since then, she's been completely silent." My mother snorted. "That foolish girl understands nothing of the world. A little suffering will do her good." My mother then changed her tone. "But my daughter, no matter how foolish, was raised by my own hand. If those Daniels dare to make Grace suffer, don't blame me for flaying them alive." I raised my hand and asked, "Mom, didn't you always say that if you don't discipline your children, there are plenty of people in society to do it for you? Your words sound a bit contradictory." My mother glared. "For major faults, there's the law. For minor faults, there are parents. Parents who let their children be bullied out there and then stand by idly are the biggest fools in the world. All right, whatever you say, Mom. So what's the plan now?" My mother pondered for a while, then assigned tasks. "You've been there, you're the only one who's set foot in that place, and you have high combat skills and maximum deception abilities. This trip, you must go as the vanguard. Auntie will follow to persuade them with reason. If that truly doesn't work, just break his legs yourself and bring her back here. I will bring 10 bodyguards as a special reserve team in case negotiations fail." But it must be clear. Last time, Alice was a bridesmaid out of sisterly affection, and Grace didn't appreciate it, sending her back. If Alice is harmed again this time out of sisterly affection, won't we look like we're both hitting and stroking? As soon as my mother finished speaking, my aunt understood immediately. She patted her chest and promised, "I understand, sister. We'll be fair about money. This trip, at least one caddy of gold as payment, double that if successful." Agreed. Everything was settled. Just as my mother was about to hire bodyguards, my grandmother walked out, leaning on her cane. She was 80 years old, with white hair, but still looked very spry. No more fuss. "What are 10 bodyguards compared to the strength of this old woman?" My mother gasped. "Mom, this might involve some physical altercation. Can your bones handle it?" My grandmother stroked her hair and chuckled. "I'm not going out there to fight. I'm going to see who dares to touch me and demand retaliation. Without ruthlessness in your heart, your position won't be stable. Just go for it." The whole group flew to Daniel's hometown. Fortunately, it was just a small town. We didn't need to ask much. After a few loops, we met an acquaintance. Leo sat crouched by the roadside, a cigarette in his mouth, gossiping with his friends. Suddenly, his eyes met mine. Instantly, his face changed color and he ran away on all fours. "Hey, Leo, where are you running to?" I immediately gave chase. Debauchery and women had worn him down. Before running 100 meters, Leo was caught by me. One kick from me sent him sprawling against a wall. He gasped like a dog, endlessly begging, "Oh, Auntie, how could I have offended you? Please forgive me." I narrowed my eyes and smiled, grabbing his collar and lifting him up. "Leo, what are you afraid of? Am I a fierce woman?" Leo's eyes darted down to my hand. Seeing that I wasn't holding a syringe, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Oh, Auntie, just say whatever it is. Just don't use your hands and feet. I swear I'll tear myself apart for you to see." "That's a good boy," I said. I asked him, "Where is my cousin now?" Leo paused for a second. "At my brother's house, at Daniel's house." Why do you ask? It was absurd. Hadn't Daniel promised before the wedding that even though his family was poor, he would definitely buy a house later to give Grace a home? On the wedding day, he hadn't even mentioned buying a house. For the past half year, he had been incommunicado, and we didn't even know their new address. Hearing my words, Leo's expression changed continuously. Occasionally, he would glance around, looking very suspicious. I warned him, "I still have that video from last time, you know. Choose. Listen to me or listen to the prison guard." Leo cowered. "I'll lead the way for you, but please, Auntie, don't hit me anymore. 1,000 wrongs, 10,000 wrongs, it's all Daniel's fault. It has nothing to do with me." Hearing him say that, my heart sank. Without further hesitation, I told Leo to lead the way. He didn't take a taxi, but led us through dark, narrow alleys. The winding village paths went deeper and deeper into old houses in the woods. Finally, we emerged at the edge of the town in front of a dilapidated house at the foot of the mountain. "Ah, we're here," Leo stammered, head bowed. The house, built against the mountain, was both secluded and damp. The walls were covered in green moss. That could be accepted, but judging by the appearance of this house, it was clearly built in the previous generation. One didn't even need to look far. In this tiny town, finding such a dilapidated house was truly difficult. My aunt couldn't control herself anymore and immediately grabbed Leo, scolding loudly. Daniel said his family, though in a small town, was well off. He promised to buy my daughter a new house after the wedding. So where is this new house? Has my daughter been living in this place for the past half year? Leo cowered and whispered, "I told you it has nothing to do with me." Well off my foot, Daniel's parents died young. He was raised by his grandfather and was the only impoverished household in the entire town. A few years ago, his grandfather also passed away. Now he's dirt poor. Last year, he even boasted about finding a small gold mine and was sure to seize the opportunity to change his life. That small gold mine must be my daughter. My aunt released him, collapsing to the ground, looking distraught. She had thought Grace was just a love-struck fool, helping a poor man who fell in love with a provincial scholar. At that time, she still held a glimmer of hope, thinking that most provincial scholars were bright children, and as long as Daniel worked hard and treated Grace well, it would be fine. Who knew it was all lies? Leo, now free, cautiously asked, "So I'll go ahead then?" I waved him off. Leo quickly ran away on all fours, not daring to look back. The door opened. In that small, dilapidated and moldy courtyard, a familiar voice called out, "Mom." I looked up, almost not recognizing her. The beautiful, plump cousin of half a year ago was now skin and bones, her complexion pale and sallow. She used a wooden cane to walk, one leg dangling weakly beside her. My aunt shrieked, then fainted. Grace staggered out, hugging my aunt and calling continuously, "Mom, what's wrong? Wake up, Mom, don't scare me." My grandmother brushed dust from her clothes, saying coldly, "Stop calling. She's not dead yet." She squinted at the small, dilapidated house in front of them, then suddenly laughed aloud. How many years has it been since I've seen such a desolate house? This girl, Grace, you're truly strong. Grace had heard stories about my grandmother since childhood and always held her in awe. Hearing those sarcastic words, she couldn't help but feel ashamed. She just bowed her head, hugging my aunt, not uttering a word. My grandmother glared at her without speaking, then stepped into the courtyard. After helping my aunt inside and waiting for her to calm down a little, my grandmother spoke again. Let me hear what that awful grandson-in-law has done to you. All around was silent. My cousin remained quiet for a long time, then recounted everything that had happened in the past 6 months. The situation was not much different from my predictions. Daniel, with nothing to his name, always wanted to rely on a wealthy woman to change his life. My cousin, with her somewhat stubborn and romantic personality, was his target. During their courtship, Daniel was indeed an extremely attentive boyfriend. He would bring meals regardless of the weather, replied to messages instantly, and was always sweet. Grace believed she had found true love. Although this love was somewhat lacking in material possessions, with her 5-figure salary and Daniel's prospects at his company, she believed life would get better through their combined efforts. Therefore, even though Daniel had nothing, she decided to marry him. My aunt sighed. She had thought so too. Although she didn't approve of their wedding, she still thought Daniel was a decent person. My grandmother pondered silently for a moment, then gestured to Grace. So, what happened after your mother canceled your credit cards? Everything changed after the credit cards were canceled. Daniel's plan to rely on his wife failed, making him frustrated. At first, he still restrained himself, only saying that he didn't have money to buy a house yet and needed more time to accumulate it. After 3 months, when he saw Grace refuse to reconcile with my aunt, Daniel's attitude worsened. What was worse, Grace became pregnant. This baby temporarily appeased the aggression in Daniel's heart. He once again acted attentive and thoughtful towards her, subtly telling her to use this opportunity to mend relations with her family. But you didn't follow, did you? Grace's eyes darkened. I loved him, but I wasn't stupid. His motives were too obvious, so I changed my phone number, cut off all contact with my family, and even quit my job. Hadn't he sworn eternal love, saying he would cherish me and take care of me for the rest of his life? Grace questioned bitterly. Well then, I won't take anything with me when I leave him. Let's see how he can support me then. Grace's decisive and merciless actions infuriated Daniel. He resorted to violence against the family, personally destroying the child's future. Grace's leg was also broken by him. Worse still, he used the excuse of being destitute and having no money for treatment, abandoning Grace in this dilapidated courtyard, leaving her to her fate. Upon hearing this, my aunt's heart ached. Why are you suffering so much? Are you gambling your life away with that kind of horrible man? Grace bowed her head slightly, softly comforting her. Mom, Daniel is a vampire. I was foolish. I fell for this kind of person. This is my retribution. If I contacted you again, he would cling to me to extort money from you. That's why Grace chose to hide it and bear it alone. My grandmother's face showed clear approval. At least you still have some backbone. There's still hope for you. I'll give you a chance to escape that awful man. I only ask you one question. Do you agree? A sharp glint appeared in my grandmother's eyes. I was certain that if Grace still hesitated as she did on her wedding day, my grandmother would definitely abandon her. Grace seemed a little disbelieving. Daniel won't agree to a divorce. To be frank, as long as his wife's family, Grace's family, still had someone he could cling to, he would still hope to change his life. Daniel would absolutely not let go easily. My grandmother chuckled. Divorce? Is it that easy? Today, I will teach you how to make him beg you for a divorce without costing you a single drop of blood. Grace firmly said, if it's truly possible, I want to drag Daniel to hell. My grandmother heartily laughed. Dealing with a greedy person is too simple. She signaled my mother to transfer 300,000 T into my aunt's account. Daniel must have been desperate. The scoundrel who only dared to withdraw 500 T from the ATM each month quickly withdrew all 300,000 T in cash less than a day after the account received the money. By then, we had already settled into a hotel. My grandmother pointed to the message and said, Look, we didn't even need to set a trap. He's already walked right into it. Alice, my grandmother called me to work. Auntie promised you a caddy of gold, so make sure it's done cleanly. Okay, I happily replied, turning to set fire to Daniel's old house. To do that, we first had to find Daniel. And to find him, instead of searching everywhere and catching him, why not strike directly at his lair? The moment the 119 fire alarm sounded, Daniel rushed home. By then, his old, dilapidated house had been completely burned down, leaving nothing behind. The firelight cast an unusually calm, almost insane glow on Grace's angular face. I quietly asked, "Are you okay?" Grace nodded slightly, bowing her head. A tear rolled down her cheek. Being imprisoned here for half a year, I hated this place to my very core. Burning down this house is not as simple as you think. I chuckled. Don't waste words on those who don't understand reason. A moment later, Leo cautiously approached me and whispered, "Daniel is here, his face is green." I raised an eyebrow. That fast? I wondered how Leo had reported it. Leo awkwardly scratched his nose. He knew the old house burned down and originally didn't want to come back, so I told him his sister-in-law's old flame was coming, said he was very rich. Hearing that, he immediately took a taxi and sped straight home. That's a good approach. Leo pleaded, "Oh, Auntie, I've done everything you asked. Please delete the video." I nodded. "You want to delete the video? All right, do one more thing for me first." After a flurry of activity, Daniel's house was left with only a pile of charred ashes. The curious crowd gradually dispersed. Daniel happened to see Grace's frail figure. Without a word, he raised his hand to slap her. "I let you stay in my house, and you dare to burn it down?" The slap hadn't even landed when I blocked it. I grabbed his finger joints tightly and squeezed hard. Daniel's face contorted in pain. It was then that he recognized me. "Brother-in-law, half a year without seeing each other, you've become quite hot-tempered, haven't you?" I flung his hand away. He staggered in place, his expression softening considerably. "Alice, why are you here?" He suddenly thought of something, his face beaming. "So, my mother-in-law has also reached this point and is still hoping for her daughter's family?" I said loudly. "I'm here to collect a debt. What does that have to do with my aunt?" Daniel was cunning. He had just withdrawn $300,000, and immediately afterwards someone came to collect a debt. He only needed to deduce a little to understand everything. He took a step back. "What debt? I didn't borrow money from you." I sneered, grabbing Grace's hair and roughly pulling it back. "You didn't borrow, but your wife did, didn't she? 300,000 hot off the press just entered the account less than a day ago. Are you going to deny it already?" I patted Grace's face, speaking without reservation. "When she borrowed the money, she said my aunt would help pay it back. As soon as it was transferred to you, my aunt declared she had disowned you." Grace looked up, tears streaming down her face. "Honey, please pay her back. She's so scary. The money was just transferred. If we return it immediately, she surely won't bother calculating interest." Daniel's face changed, and he kept backing away. "Are you kidding me?" A useless person abandoned by his family, spending so much effort to get 300,000 T. He hasn't even warmed his hands on the money, and he has to return it already. His old house has burned down. Now he'll lose this money too. Won't he be left with nothing? No way. He regretted the money. "I haven't seen a single penny of it. If she borrowed from you, you go demand it from her. It has nothing to do with me." "What other tricks are you playing? You two are husband and wife, you share debts. Don't think either of you can escape." Daniel's lips parted, intending to utter the word divorce, but it choked in his throat. "Something's wrong. Everything is happening too fast. There's something fishy." He said nothing, turning to leave. Before he had taken a few steps, a crowd surged out of the small alley. They were all his childhood friends from the village. The leader was none other than Leo. Leo led his men to block the alley. Daniel couldn't push his way through. Leo even scoffed at Daniel. "Brother, where are you running off to? This is our territory. There are so many of us, are we afraid of that little brat? No more talking, just deal with her." The whole group cheered in unison. However, they only cheered, no one made a move. The whole group stood still as statues, not a single person moved. Daniel's face went white. "Then you hit her." Leo scratched his head. "Brother, this is your problem after all. The first hit still has to come from you." Daniel almost lost his temper. He had never been in a fight before. The kick he just received almost crushed his wrist. He was no match for that little girl at all. Now, if he fought back, he didn't know who would get beaten. Daniel said in a panic, "Forget it. I don't want to argue with that brat. I'm out of here." Leo stood still. "Brother, you're playing dirty. Don't let your younger brothers look down on you." Daniel didn't bother to reply, directly raising his hands to push the crowd away. As luck would have it, as soon as he pushed, the crowd naturally parted, creating a path. In his panicked desire to escape, Daniel didn't think twice and rushed forward, colliding right into my grandmother. The old lady, over 80 years old, leaning on her cane, was so frail she fell to the ground like a withered leaf with just a light touch. Immediately, the crowd erupted. Leo shouted loudly, "Oh no, Daniel knocked over the old lady. Have you heard this before? The poor middle class can be ruined by just one old lady. Quickly hold Daniel back. If he escapes, we'll all have to share the medical expenses." The people present were all hired by Leo to act, and they all knew their parts by heart. These shouts were just an excuse for everyone to hold him back. Immediately, a group of people clamored and yelled, "Hurry, grab him. Whoever doesn't act is a coward. If the old lady goes to the hospital, it'll be tens of millions, or she won't be able to leave. You don't have that much money even if you sell yourself. Daniel, it's not that we brothers aren't helping you, it's just that you caused too much trouble." Before Daniel could collect himself, he was pinned to the ground by a group of people. He struggled and screamed, "You're all hired by her, aren't you?" Leo spread his arms wide. "Brother, saying that saddens me. It's all just a coincidence." Immediately, someone called the police and the 115 emergency services. When the ambulance arrived, my grandmother was helped onto the stretcher. As she passed Daniel, she leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Medical expenses, 300,000. If I don't get it, I'm not leaving the hospital." 300,000 again, and another 300,000. No matter how foolish he was, Daniel understood that this was a trap, but unfortunately, realizing it was useless. The incident of knocking her over was real, my mother's transfer of 300,000, and Daniel's withdrawal of 300,000 in cash were also real. With such a clear chain of evidence, Daniel's cries were useless, even if he screamed until his throat was hoarse. In the detention center, Grace visited Daniel, sobbing, and eventually relapsed into her old love-struck ways. Grace said that a husband and wife shared a deep bond even for a day, and she would stay with Daniel to bear responsibility for the debt. Although the total debt of 600,000 T seemed large, with effort, it could certainly be paid off within 10 years. Daniel almost fainted upon hearing this. He had just withdrawn cash, and in the blink of an eye, the debt had doubled to 600,000 T. Grace sighed, "Although I'm family to them, this time they showed me no mercy." This statement enlightened Daniel. He looked hopeful, grabbing Grace's hand. "How about this? We divorce. The 600,000 T debt will temporarily fall on you. They are all your family, so they surely won't make things difficult for you. Don't worry, I still have 300,000 T in cash. I definitely won't let you suffer." Grace's hand, which had been clenched under the table, immediately relaxed. She asked, "Can it be like that?" A sly look flashed in Daniel's eyes. "Why not? Don't worry, dear. Before, I let you suffer because our family truly had no money. Now that we have money, I will spoil you like a little princess." Grace remained silent, bowing her head slightly, as if agreeing to Daniel's arrangement. A month later, Daniel was still in detention and had smoothly completed the divorce procedures with Grace. On the day he received the divorce certificate, Grace visited Daniel at the detention center. Right in front of him, she called the lawyer her aunt had prepared. "Mr. Daniel, there's something that needs to be clarified with you. Your act of knocking someone over and causing injury is a personal act for which you alone are responsible. For the 300,000 T debt, you two share half. Your portion has been covered by the cash you hid, so you still have to take responsibility for paying the old lady's medical expenses. The other side has said that if you don't pay, they will sue you for intentional assault." Daniel suddenly stood up. "No, didn't we reach an agreement?" Grace looked up and coldly retorted, "Oh, what agreement? There was no agreement. What nonsense are you talking about?" Daniel's eyes widened. "Didn't you say you loved me and were willing to bear the burden for me?" Grace sneered, a bitter smile at the corner of her eyes. She stood up and looked directly at the man she had loved half a year ago. "Daniel, I have completely shed that romantic fantasy. Half a year was more than enough. Did you think I was easy to fool, that you could do whatever you wanted?" Before leaving, I added, "I'll let you know, Grandma has been transferred to a private nursing home in Lamthan. Although you don't need to pay for all of this, the portion you should bear, you probably can't afford, can you? Goodbye for now. Who knows when we'll meet again." That night, Grace and my aunt flew to Lamthan. A month later, Grace recovered her health and brought fruit to visit Grandma. As soon as she entered the house, she handed me a caddy of gold, so heavy I almost dropped it. Recovering myself, I couldn't resist taking a bite. Grace chuckled. "Why do you look so greedy for money?" I hugged the gold and retorted, "Don't you like it? It's better to earn it yourself. Money you earn yourself looks even more lovable." Grace sniffed, nodding. After a while, she looked worried again. Daniel has been released. Aren't you afraid he'll come to Lamthan and cause trouble? I secretly replied. You're worrying too much. Do you know how much Daniel has to compensate for Grandma's medical expenses? I held up one finger. 500 million dong, both reasonable and legal. Grandma quickly transferred this 500 million debt to a debt collection agency in Daniel's hometown. It's been clearly agreed that Grandma doesn't need this money. Whatever they collect belongs to the company. But there's one condition. Before the debt is paid off, Daniel is not allowed to leave the area. As for how they'll do it, let them figure it out themselves. With the cost of living in Daniel's hometown, to earn 500 million, he would be stuck there for at least 10 years. He couldn't possibly escape. Grace clicked her tongue. Amazing, truly the pillar of the Hua family. You're also very fierce, a rare clear-headed person. Unexpectedly praised, I felt a little embarrassed. I asked my cousin what she planned to do next. Go on blind dates? Grace quickly waved her hand. No way, I plan to study for a master's degree abroad. For marriage and love, being strong on your own is truly the right path. Oh, you're finally cured.